Hey everybody, welcome to Guided Listening. I'm Jeff Antoniuk from JazzWire. Happy to have you here. Every once in a while when I think, yeah, maybe I should stop doing those guided listening videos, I get like 20 people saying how much fun they have and how valuable they are. And frankly, I'm reminded of how much fun I have doing these and how much I learn from doing these videos. So yeah, let's keep them going. Today we're going to be listening to the great John Coltrane composition Lazy Bird from the Blue Train album 1958. And so we'll get into the nuts and bolts of that. The reason we're doing this one is inside JazzWire. Inside JazzWire, which is built for you adult, amateur, semi-pro, playing on the side, adult learners. We have folks at all different ability levels. So at the novice level this week, we're working on the Charlie Parker song, Billy's Bounce, and talking about how to get bebop scales into our playing. In the blue community, the more advanced community, we're doing the wonderful ballad, I Fall in Love Too Easily. Miles Davis, Chet Baker, so many great recordings. And we're talking about playing single time and double time and how to get a good double time feel and how to play over the time. Interesting stuff. In the red community, we're looking at Coltrane solo from this recording. So there's so much great stuff going on inside JazzWire. All you have to do is take the free trial. In about 15 seconds, you'll be in. You have 1 month access behind the paywall. So I hope you come in, check out these lessons and everything else that's going on there. So right, this album, Blue Train, I think it's the one Blue Note album that John Coltrane did. It's Coltrane, Lee Morgan on trumpet, I think, Curtis Fuller on trombone, Kenny Drew on piano, Paul Chambers, Philly Joe Jones. And it's such an important album, and I say that with like a little asterisk, the cover of it. I'm just thinking of all the movies I've seen where somebody has like the cover, you know, the cool hip guy, the brooding lawyer or whatever that has the Blue Train album hanging on their wall. Yeah, it's iconic, right? Is it an important album? Not really. Is it a great album? Hell yeah. Is it one of my favorites? Hell yeah. So is it important? Like who says? Well, they say. Who are they? Good question. So when we think about an artist's work, a particular work may be the most world famous one, but they kind of did 20 others like it. The important work was that one where everything changed. The important work was that one where art was never the same when that got painted or that installation happened or whatever, that album was recorded. So it's kind of interesting to think that this wasn't a landmark album. Coltrane had these various periods and how he pushed forward into new things. This was just a killer band, great compositions, well rehearsed, swinging for the fences, well recorded, awesome. So, you know, you don't need to, it doesn't matter if it's important, right? If you dig it, that's all that matters. But it is interesting to think about that way. Important films in the history of cinema may not be really the crowd favorites, right? But they may be important for these reasons. And if you happen to be somebody who's into cinema, that's the kind of stuff we think about. And that informs, you know, what came before, what comes after informs our tastes. So, all right, enough of that. So we're going to get jumping into this. Before we do, there's a bunch of stuff going on. So we have the Saxophone Summit, our first international workshop in Edmonton, Canada. That's coming up at the end of June. So we're sold out for bass. Even though it's called a saxophone workshop, we're accepting all instruments. We've got openings for piano, guitar, drums, and we've got a couple saxophone and horn spots left. So grab one of those. If you're from Western Canada, the Pacific Northwest, come up to that. We have people coming from all across the western part of North America to this workshop. We have the JazzWire Summer Summit. We're sold out for everything except for bass and drums. Check it out. Get on the waiting list if you play piano or saxophone or something. And finally, we're offering scholarships for the Summer Summit, scholarships on bass and drums. We've held some of those back. We have 7 scholarships funded for young people age 16 to 21, so high school into college. I would love for you to let me know, is there somebody that you think would be a good fit? Do you have a kid that would love to come? Do you know a band director Do you know an organization that has young people who are hungry to learn and maybe don't have the resources? We've got the resources. So let's get that going. So send us an email, or you can go to the website, jazzwiresummit.com. You click on the Summer Summit right on that page. Go to the info page. All the information's right there. So free money, free education, that's not a bad thing. Let's get into listening to John Coltrane and the gang. Cool intro. What I notice is there's no bass. You notice that? Go back and listen to it. It's drums and piano, no bass. I wonder why. Coltrane's album, but no Coltrane. Trumpet. So Coltrane and Curtis Fuller doing those backgrounds on the bridge. And they're out again. Train doesn't play the melody. Fascinating. So these changes are a little bit tricky. The chords that they're soloing over, these are not a small thing. They're not crazy and unheard of, but it's moving fast, different key areas, and the tempo is about 250, so moving along. Man, listen to how dynamic his articulations are. You hear the volume and timbre differences between high notes and then sort of ghosting low notes. That's where the expression is, that difference in volume. That line, perfect. Whew. You hear the subtle variations in volume. Man, that's what makes Lee Morgan sound like Lee Morgan. Second solo, no Coltrane yet. Curtis Fuller. So a more legato approach, right? Like Lee is really articulating a lot and hard, and Curtis Fuller, a smoother sound. And you can certainly get that Lee Morgan sound on trombone. You can push the horn harder. That's not how Curtis plays. And now we always like to listen to the bass and drums here. So the bass and drums are being quite straightforward, swinging on the cymbal, walking on the bass, just keeping the engine of this thing going. And so it's always nice to listen to the fills on the drums. And a lot of the big fills, the crash cymbal, the bass drum is happening in the 8-measure periods, outlining the form. Great melodic beginning to Train solo. That first 8 measures, he kind of quotes the melody, starts getting going. And now we're at the bridge, 16 measures in, and he's off and running. That little phrase, Train plays that a ton in this solo. We're gonna hear it. That was kind of it there. There it is again. Ba-ba-da-da-da. All sorts of classic language in his playing. There was a Kesh lick there. We're analyzing all of this inside JazzWire. It's cool to see and hear all the pre-existing language he's using. He's not making this stuff up. He's assembling it in this order, but there's very little here that he's truly improvising. We'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, great 3-chorus solo. So we had all 3 horns in a row. Now piano. Do do you notice how the drumming, Philly Joe, he's not doing as many fills. He's not as busy as he was at the end of Train's solo. Well, Train had built for 96 measures, 3 choruses. There was a volume, and of course the sound of the saxophone, he was kind of playing more. So of course at the beginning of Kenny's solo, he brings it down, thins things out. Right, so we're not hearing a ton of fills, and what we're hearing is just softer, sensitive drumming. The quality of the recording is good. I mean, we can hear and feel the bass. Now we can really hear and feel it. So what are we listening to? So acoustic bass, bowed with the bow. And playing with the bow really brings forward the intonation. Like if you're not in tune, man, we can hear it with the bow. So PC, Paul Chambers, great pitch. Drum solo. So this is a 32 bar tune, second A. So can you follow through the drum solo? Here's the bridge. 2, 3, 4. So that is a skill to have. So enjoy the drum solos, but see if you can count through them. It's actually a rare jazz drum solo that doesn't happen over the form. The drums are playing over the same form, the same chord changes as the rest of the band. So here we are, 8 from the end, last A. And so a cool ending, a coda. Now we're out of time, right? These chords seem to be on cue, or they're, the tempo is slowing down, or retardando. All right. So really taking advantage of 3 horns. Why did, whether Coltrane decided or the producer of the session, we're going to do this with 3 horns. It could be that Coltrane, wrote a bunch of music and he had in mind, he wanted to do some arranging. And it's really cool that on this song, Coltrane never plays the melody. It's all trumpet, and he's just doing some of those half notes and whole notes in the bridge. So very interesting. So inside Coltrane's solo, I was saying he's not really improvising. And so I've said that many times in the Digging Deeper videos. And by the way, if you don't know about the Digging Deeper videos, I did 200 videos in 200 weeks, each on a separate topic. So it didn't build on, a particular curriculum. It was whatever occurred to me that week. That's what we're going to talk about. Each one has a free PDF, so you can get that free PDF from us. So those, just search Digging Deeper Jazz or Antoniuk Digging Deeper, whatever. They'll come right up. It's a really great resource and free. So I've mentioned this plenty, is that when we look at Coltrane's solo, he wasn't improvising in the sense that he was making up those melodies, that he was playing those things for the first time ever. When I look at Coltrane's solo, and again, we're analyzing it in JazzWire, those 96 measures he played, 3 choruses, 32 times 3, almost everything he's played, I know his playing. I've looked at other of his solos. He's played that lick 1,000,000 times. He plays this lick 7 times in this solo. He plays that shape over and over again. Everybody plays that lick. Oh, here's that simple digital pattern. Here. So he's assembling. And sure, we call that improvising. So I don't mean to take anything away, but I think a lot of people have this illusion of what playing jazz is, and we get in touch with our soul, and then we breathe into our instrument and life. Anyone that's played an instrument knows that's not how it works. You breathe into your instrument, it fights back, you have a terrible time, and then eventually, I'm actually quite an optimist in general, but it's like, yeah, this stuff is work. and it's mechanical and it's all those things. And yes, we have to do all that work to get out of the way so that the spirit of improvisation is available to us, but mostly it's not, because we're haggling with this instrument, we're haggling with the tempo, these chord changes are kicking my butt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's all the work that goes behind. What does that mean, the work? Learning a ton of vocabulary so that it's accessible to you, it helps you learn the song, and now when it comes time to play, maybe the vocabulary comes out, maybe some version of it comes out, maybe it doesn't come out, but you've learned the song better. The vocabulary helped you learn the song so that you can be in the moment with it. And sure, you're listening to the band and responding to what they're doing, but what we talk about as improvisation, making it up in the moment, that's not really what's going on. We're assembling in the moment. What I'm doing right now, would we say I'm improvising? I guess we would say I don't have a script, I'm talking to you. But I've said so many of these things the same way, almost exactly the same sentence. I've talked about these same topics many times. I'm comfortable with this stuff, so I can improvise. I can talk in a pretty relaxed way. I don't trip up too many times. I don't misspeak too much. Right? So that's a way to think about improvisation. So my knowledge of the English language and grammar and my topic allows me to improvise well. There's a lot of decades of work behind me being able to sit here and do this, right? And you do the same thing every time you open your mouth. So it's interesting, and I think it's helpful to think about improvisation that way because it takes away the mysticism and so many, just how it doesn't work. And it gives us a path forward. And that's why I know for a fact anybody can learn to improvise jazz. I've helped thousands of people do this, and they get better. Does everyone become world class? No. Sorry, no guarantee on that. Does everybody get so much better when they get put on this correct path of understanding, learning about technique and vocabulary and musical grammar and language? Absolutely. So this is the way to go. For sure. So anyway, I'm glad you joined me on that. I'll climb off my soapbox here. But again, I would really love for you to come inside JazzWire and see what hundreds and hundreds of your friends, adult musicians from 25 different countries are doing. And if you know somebody that deserves a scholarship, please let me know. And by the way, we're not always looking for the top player in the country, the all-state, jazz musician. We're looking for somebody that just is interested. Somebody that maybe has only been playing a little bit, maybe a viola player who wants to learn how to play bass. That is who we're interested in. People who are interested and intrigued by the music. They don't always have to be the top achievers. We want to make room for the novices and the intermediates too. So if that rings a bell, please get in touch with me. And thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this. And man, listen to this album. It's a great one. I'll see you next week.